Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to space, the final-ish frontier. So Star Citizen has launched 2.6 and their FPS module, and I wanted to introduce you guys to it because it's doing some pretty cool things for the game. I hope you guys enjoy the ride. I think the first thing to note here is that they really nailed the ambiance of being a space marine. Between the audio design and the visuals, they just really make you feel like you're fighting in space or on a space station. The overlay for the HUD that is your helmet is at first seemingly annoying, but becomes pretty cool and really sells the fact that you're wearing a helmet. The sound design is pretty genius in that the weapons sound great. Your footsteps on the metal hull of the space station sound really good. And then transitioning into the outside where there's a vacuum and very little sound also sounds really good. And it just overall really sells the idea that you are fighting on a space station. I just thought that was worth the first look. So currently there are two modes in this new module. The first is a team deathmatch sort of mode where you simply kill the enemy, and the second is a King of the Hill style game mode in which you have to capture the majority of 4 different points, which you have to hack them over the course of time. So it's sort of like in Battlefield where you have to take certain objectives and it takes a moment to do it. This one is my favorite of the two because there's at least some objectives to do and some teamwork to be had in that some people have to defend one while other people go and take the others. So you can see as I run out here that there are weapons to be picked up inside of our spawn. You can also pick up the weapons off of enemies. There's not a ton of variety in the weapons yet. There's a shotgun, a laser machine gun, a ballistic machine gun, and a sniper rifle. Everybody carries the pistol, and I'm assuming after you level up some, you'll unlock grenades and another slot. But the ones that are available can be picked up near your spawn if you somehow forgot to set up your loadout before you went in. Which is another thing that I should probably mention. You can swap your loadout much like in Call of Duty or Battlefield to suit your playstyle. So if you want to bring a sniper rifle and a shotgun, you can, and I'm assuming as they flesh out the module, there will be tons of interesting options like burst fire rifles and multiple different assault rifles, etc. The module is pretty fleshed out as far as FPS mechanics go. If you're a veteran of Call of Duty or Battlefield or any other modern shooter, there are a lot of mechanics that you would expect to be in the game. There's crouch and prone, there's the ability to mantle over different levels of cover, there's sprinting, and there's the ability to heal yourself when you are injured. There's grenades and a whole host of other things that if you are an FPS player, you would come to expect. 2.6 has done some pretty good things. The module works and it works well. Although the ability to run around and fire was already in the game and was already a mechanic in some of the quests, this has just done a better job of fleshing it out and has added a few things to it. And it does it in a relatively non-glitchy and interesting way. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that the queue times were really low when I went to play, so that's another positive. So I'll go ahead and move on to some of my complaints about it. The first thing worth mentioning is that the kill times are really weird. Sometimes you'll be one-shotted by a grenade, and other times, as we saw earlier in this video, you'll just live forever against 2 people. I'll overlay this on top of this audio clip, but at one point I was using the sniper rifle and I shot at and around this guy's head and he lived for like 5 shots and it was really crazy. I actually stopped shooting at him because A, he was AFK, and B, it was just taking so long to kill him with a sniper rifle. It was just really weird, and that's one issue that's come up while I was playing. This one is more to be expected since it's an alpha, but the animations are a little bit weird in some places, especially when you're viewing the other character models in third person. The main one in first person is the sprinting animation, since he just puts his weapon inside of his chest cavity, takes off sprinting, and then pulls it back out of his chest cavity when he's done. That really needs a gun down, actually sprinting animation like we see in Call of Duty and Battlefield. But the other ones that are really weird and kind of immersion breaking are the third person animations. When people are running and sprinting and jumping, it just looks really, really goofy. And we can see it here at the beginning of this fourth round, how people seem to be just sliding along the ground, or they'll jump and it's just this magically pop up and magically pop back down animation. And those are some things that are between netcode and actual animations need to be smoothed out. So the last thing that I think is worth mentioning is the balance of the weapons. This one is a much less of a concern considering how easy it is to balance and how early on in the production cycle this thing is. So I want to say first that the ballistic rifle that you had before is really, really strong. It's probably the best option to bring into this game mode if you're interested in actually playing it. The laser shotgun is laughably weak in that the ballistic rifle will deal way more damage before the laser shotgun will even get off a few shots. It's also unreliable in that it's a shotgun, and it also doesn't have the range, so you're better off bringing the ballistic rifle. The laser machine gun fares better as it is just barely passable as an alternative to the machine gun, the ballistic machine gun. It has no recoil, but it deals less damage, so if you're good at getting headshots, this one can be a replacement for the ballistic rifle. The sniper rifle is just useless. These maps are not designed very well, to be totally honest, and they don't provide any good lines of sight for sniping unless you went outside of the space station and then just shot into windows, at which point you're not really doing the objectives, so I assume you're taking part in team deathmatch. The pistol is useless as there's ammo crates everywhere and you should practically never be out of ammunition. The grenades are probably overpowered since they can one-shot groups of enemies, and these maps are very tightly packed corridors, so they are probably a bit strong. I'd be interested to see some other maps from CIG, or Star Citizen in general, that are more open or more well designed as FPS maps, as we might see better balance between the weapons when the maps are more conducive to using different weapons. So I'd say 2.6 has been pretty good to us so far. The module hasn't been crazy crashy or buggy, but hopefully for the future what they'll do is follow more of a Battlefield path than a Call of Duty path, because they have a lot of assets that they can use for vehicles to get into and participate in the fight in that way, much like Battlefield, and they could also introduce ground vehicles and other things that would be interchangeable with the open play universe. And this would introduce a lot more team play like it does in Battlefield between vehicles and players and capping points and things like that. And it would also allow them to have bigger maps with better sight lines and just a whole host of things that would be better than going the Call of Duty route. So I think a lot of people on YouTube have already talked about the 2.6 Star Marine module, so I'll go ahead and talk about some other systems that have actually been changed. The Grimhex bar is now open. I don't have footage from it and I didn't go to it because I was doing the other two things, which are Crusader has new missions, which some of them are pretty cool, and the asteroid belt, if you've ever flown out there, is now updated to be more robust, shall I say. It has more asteroids in it and it just generally looks better. They're updating some of their tech in that way. A few major things have come out of this. There's about 4 new ships into the game, both flight ready and hangar ready, along with a lot of new variants for some other ships. I won't go into details about each and every single one of them, but there's a lot of new stuff that is ship related coming into this patch. Mainly being that they've rebalanced everything related to ship-based combat, including not only how the ships fly, but also how their weapons work. Essentially, overall, effectively, all those acronyms that I need in this video, it has been slowed down. The max speed of all ships has been reduced, so my Mustang has gone from approximately 240 to 170. and just across the board, everybody has been slowed down. Also, the projectiles from the weapons have been slowed down. There's a noticeable decrease in projectile speed from the lasers of the Mustang compared to pre-patch. And this is supposed to, according to CIG, slow down the pace of combat. It definitely has changed the way that we're going to play against even NPCs, but it's to be seen if it's going to slow it down any at all. To get more specific about the flight model, there has been a complete removal of the cruise mode, which enabled you to go really, really fast when you were enabling it. And to replace it has come in Afterburner and a fuel consumption sort of model. Effectively, it has always been in the game that there were afterburners and that you can go faster by using them, but cruise has sort of filled the spot. Now they've taken out cruise, and afterburners will allow you to go faster than the SCM model will by default. Additionally, missiles have got some huge changes, and all ships have been outfitted with missiles. I haven't really played too much with the missiles, so I don't know exactly how they feel, because I definitely didn't play with them pre-2.6. There's a ton of new social modules, and if you look closely in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll notice that there's fuel and oxygen when you're out of your ship. So I don't know if this is an attempt to bring in survival features or what is going on there, but the bars never move. Back to the social features. The text has been changed and moved, the text chat, I mean. And there's been some other various features, including ignoring people, removing friends, and other sort of social features that you need for an MMO. So I think 2.6 has been pretty nice to us. It shows us how the team is working on the first-person shooting stuff to implement it into the open world mechanics. I think there's a lot of room to improve, but I think there's a very good base for moving forward with the open world combat, especially on foot. It'll be interesting to see what they do moving towards 3.0 with the persistent universe and more sort of star systems and more quests and things like that. I got to spend some time on the Caterpillar, which came out pretty recently, and that thing is huge. There's so many different cruise spots to be had, and it'll be interesting to see what you could do with the inside of it when we get in-game ship customization. But otherwise, that is all from me. You guys take it easy and have a good one.